There is something happening inside the brain after the age of 70 that most doctors won't bring up during a routine checkup, not because it's a secret, but because conventional medicine is still catching up with what nutritional neuroscience has been quietly discovering for years. The brain doesn't just slow down with age, it changes its fuel requirements. It becomes more selective, more vulnerable, and here is the part that most people completely miss: more responsive to very specific nutrients that are found in foods most of us have never thought to eat. Today, we're going to talk about 5 of those foods, not the ones you've already heard about 1,000 times, not blueberries, not salmon, not avocado. We are going beyond the headlines and into the territory that researchers are only beginning to fully understand. Before we get to the foods themselves, you need to understand one fundamental truth about the aging brain. After 70, the hippocampus, the region responsible for forming new memories, begins to lose volume at an accelerating rate. This is not inevitable destruction. It is, in large part, a response to inflammation, oxidative stress, and a reduction in a protein called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your neurons. Without enough of it, the brain cannot grow new connections, cannot repair damaged pathways, and cannot hold on to the clarity that most of us took for granted in our younger years. The beautiful truth, and this is what makes today's conversation so important, is that certain foods have a direct and measurable effect on BDNF levels, on inflammation in the brain, and on the communication speed between neurons. And the foods that do this most powerfully are not the famous ones. They are the underestimated ones. They are the ones we are about to explore together. If you have a parent, grandparent, or loved one over 70, drop a comment right now telling us where you are watching from. Your presence here matters more than you know. The first food almost nobody is talking about is the black soybean. You have probably heard of edamame. You may even eat it regularly. But black soybeans are an entirely different conversation. These small, dark legumes, common in traditional Korean and Japanese diets, contain an extraordinarily high concentration of anthocyanins, the same pigments that give blueberries their color, but present here in quantities that dwarf what you would find in most berries. What makes this relevant to the aging brain is that anthocyanins cross the blood-brain barrier, something that most antioxidants fail to do efficiently. Once inside the brain, they directly reduce neuroinflammation, protect neurons from oxidative damage, and have been shown in multiple studies to improve spatial memory and learning speed. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that black soybean extract significantly reduced the accumulation of the protein fragment most associated with cognitive decline in aging models. You can find black soybeans in Asian grocery stores, and they can be prepared almost exactly like regular beans, in soups, stews, salads, or even roasted as a crunchy snack. The difference they may make in the years ahead is not something you want to wait to discover. If this is already surprising you, wait until you hear what comes next. The second food is the lion's mane mushroom, and before you skip ahead thinking you've heard this one before, let us tell you exactly why it deserves far more than a passing reference, and why, despite the growing buzz around it, it remains deeply underused by the very population that needs it most. Lion's mane contains 2 unique compounds found nowhere else in nature: heracenins and erinacines. These are not antioxidants. They are not vitamins. They are the only naturally occurring substances known to stimulate the synthesis of nerve growth factor, a protein that keeps neurons alive, supports the protective sheath around nerve fibers, and encourages the brain to form new connections even in advanced age. A landmark clinical trial followed adults with mild cognitive impairment who consumed lion's mane daily for 16 weeks. Their cognitive scores improved significantly compared to the group that did not consume it. When they stopped taking it, those scores began to decline again. That is not a coincidence. That is biology responding to a specific nutritional signal. The frustrating reality is that most seniors have never heard of this mushroom, let alone tried it. It is available fresh, dried, or in powder form at health food stores and online markets. Sautéed in butter or olive oil, It has a mild, slightly seafood-like flavor that is genuinely pleasant. Leave a comment below telling us if you have ever tried lion's mane. We read every single one, and your experience might help someone else take the step they have been hesitating to take. The third food will almost certainly be a name you have never heard before, and that is precisely the point. Sacha inchi is a star-shaped seed native to the Amazon rainforest, consumed by indigenous Peruvian communities for centuries, and almost entirely unknown in North America and Europe. Despite containing one of the most remarkable nutritional profiles of any plant food on Earth. What makes Sacha inchi relevant to brain health after 70 comes down to three things. First, it contains more omega-3 fatty acids by weight than almost any other plant source, including flaxseed. Second, it contains complete protein, all 9 essential amino acids, which is extraordinarily rare for a plant. And third, it contains a form of vitamin E called tocotrienols, which are far more potent as neuroprotective agents than the common tocopherol form found in most supplements. The aging brain is literally made of fat, specifically DHA, a type of omega-3 that forms the structural membrane of brain cells. When that fat becomes depleted or replaced by inflammatory alternatives from a poor diet, cognitive function suffers. The brain slows down, confusion increases, and emotional regulation becomes harder. Sacha inchi seeds, eaten as a snack or blended into smoothies, deliver a powerful dose of the raw material your brain needs to maintain its architecture. They are lightly nutty, pleasantly crunchy, and increasingly available in health stores and online. If you have been relying on fish oil capsules for your omega-3s, this seed offers a whole food alternative with an entirely different set of accompanying nutrients that no capsule can replicate. Now, we need to pause and acknowledge something important. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still learning at this stage of the conversation, that says something about you. Most people scroll past. Most people assume they already know everything they need to know about nutrition. You are not most people. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Type the word brain in the comments if you are committed to taking your cognitive health seriously starting today. That one action could change the direction of someone else's life. The fourth food is where things get truly fascinating and a little unexpected. Fermented beet kvass is a traditional Eastern European drink made from raw beets, water, and salt. It has been consumed in Ukraine, Russia, and Poland for hundreds of years, and it remains almost entirely unknown in the rest of the world. But recent research into the gut-brain axis has brought it into an entirely new light. Here is the connection that changes everything. Approximately 90% of serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with mood, calmness, and emotional resilience, is produced in the gut, not the brain. The ecosystem of bacteria that lives in your digestive tract directly influences how much serotonin reaches the brain, how well emotional signals are communicated upward through the vagus nerve, and how effectively the brain clears the inflammatory compounds that cause mental fog and mood disruption. As we age past 70, the gut microbiome becomes less diverse and less robust, and this has consequences that are felt directly in cognitive function and emotional health. Beet kvass is exceptional because it combines the probiotic power of lactofermentation with the nitrate content of beets, which converts in the body to nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and measurably increases blood flow to the brain. A study from Wake Forest University found that a nitrate-rich diet significantly increased blood flow to the frontal lobe, the region responsible for decision-making, planning, and working memory in older adults. Beet kvass delivers both the probiotic benefit and the nitrate content in a single, inexpensive, homemade food. The taste is earthy and tangy. The effect on mental clarity, when consumed consistently, is something people report noticing within weeks. You can find recipes online or look for it at specialty health stores. If any food on this list deserves to be called a hidden gem, it is this one. And now we arrive at the fifth food, the one we promised would surprise you. The one that nutritionists are beginning to study more closely, that ancient healing traditions have used for generations, and that is so common, so ordinary looking, that you may have walked past it in the grocery store dozens of times without giving it a second thought. That food is rosemary. not rosemary essential oil, not a supplement, the fresh herb itself used generously in cooking. Here is what makes rosemary extraordinary for the brain after 70. It contains a compound called rosmarinic acid, which inhibits an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase, the same enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter most critical to memory formation and attention. This is not a small or theoretical effect. It is the same mechanism targeted by several pharmaceutical drugs used to treat early-stage Alzheimer's disease, achieved here through a herb that costs almost nothing and has been used in Mediterranean kitchens for thousands of years. Additionally, simply inhaling the aroma of rosemary, not even consuming it, has been shown in research to increase the speed and accuracy of mental tasks in adults over 65. A study conducted at Northumbria University found that participants in a room diffused with rosemary aroma performed significantly better on memory tests than those in an unscented room. The aroma alone affects the brain through olfactory pathways that remain among the least damaged by aging. And when you cook with it, roasting vegetables, seasoning chicken, infusing olive oil, you absorb rosmarinic acid directly into the bloodstream, where it crosses into the brain and gets to work. This herb, sitting quietly in the spice section of every grocery store in the world, may be one of the most accessible neuroprotective foods available to anyone over 70. The question is not whether it works. The question is why more people are not using it every single day. Here is what we want you to take away from everything you've heard today. The brain after 70 is not a brain in decline waiting passively for the inevitable. It is a living, adaptive organ that responds measurably, scientifically, consistently to what you feed it. Black soybeans, lion's mane mushroom, sacha inchi seeds, fermented beet kvass, and fresh rosemary are not miracle cures. They are not replacements for medical care or professional guidance, but they are among the most evidence-supported, most underappreciated, and most accessible tools available to anyone who wants to protect their mind for the years ahead. The gap between knowing something and doing something about it is where most people's health is lost. You have the knowledge now. The next step is yours. Leave a comment below telling us which of these 5 foods you are going to try first. That commitment, made publicly, is more powerful than most people realize. And if this video opened your eyes to something you had never considered before, share it with someone you love who is over 70 or approaching it. Because the best thing any of us can do for the people we care about is make sure they have information that could genuinely change the quality of their life.